The video played on my phone for the third time as I sat in my car outside our house. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold the device. There was my wife of 12 years, Emily, in our bed, the bed I'd picked out with her at that furniture store in Portland, with someone I'd never seen before. The timestamp showed yesterday afternoon, 2:45 p.m. I'd been at work, finishing a presentation for a client meeting. I wasn't supposed to see this. The notification had popped up on my phone 20 minutes ago while I was grabbing coffee. Motion detected in master bedroom. We'd installed the security system 6 months back after a string of break-ins in our neighborhood. Emily knew about the cameras everywhere except the bedroom. That one I'd added last week after finding a receipt for lingerie I'd never seen her wear, tucked in her gym bag. She said she'd returned it. The man in the video was younger than me, maybe late 20s. Athletic build. He wore a FedEx uniform that was discarded on my bedroom floor by the end of the clip. I recognized him now. He'd delivered packages to our house 3, maybe 4 times in the past month. I'd even chatted with him once about the Blazers game. My name is David Patterson. I'm 41 years old, a project manager at a construction firm in Beaverton, Oregon. I have 2 kids, Jake, who's 9, and Melissa, who's 7. Right now, they were at school, completely unaware that their world was about to implode. Emily was probably inside our house, maybe doing laundry or planning dinner, acting like everything was normal. I saved the video to 3 different cloud accounts, then emailed it to myself twice. My best friend Tyler works in IT, and he'd once told me about cases where evidence mysteriously disappeared from phones during divorces. I wasn't going to let that happen. The front door of our 2-story colonial looked the same as it had this morning when I'd left for work. Same welcome mat Emily had bought at Target. Same potted plants she fussed over every weekend. Same American flag I'd hung up last 4th of July. Everything looked normal, but nothing would ever be normal again. I checked my watch. 3:15 p.m. I'd left work early, telling my boss I felt sick. That wasn't a lie. I'd thrown up in the office bathroom after watching the video the first time. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. Can you grab milk on your way home? Also thinking tacos for dinner. Love you. Love you. I stared at those 2 words until they stopped making sense. How could she type that? How could she plan tacos and ask about milk when she'd done what I'd just watched? Another text appeared. Jake has soccer practice at 5:30. Can you take him? I have book club. Book club. Was that real? Or was that code for something else? How long had this been going on? Was FedEx guy the only one, or were there others? My mind raced through the past year, picking apart every girls' night out, every book club meeting, every time she'd come home late from the gym. The gym. God, the gym. She'd joined that expensive place downtown 8 months ago, said she needed to take care of herself, get healthy. I'd encouraged her. I'd even paid the membership fee, happy she was doing something for herself after years of being a stay-at-home mom. I'd been such an idiot. My hands steadied as something cold settled in my chest. I needed a plan. I couldn't just walk in there and confront her, not yet. Tyler's divorce 2 years ago had been a nightmare because he'd confronted his ex-wife without preparing first. She'd cleaned out their bank accounts, turned his kids against him, and he'd ended up in a worse position despite being the wronged party. I pulled up my contacts and called my office, speaking to Janet, our HR director. Hey, I need to take some personal time. Family emergency. Starting tomorrow, at least a week, maybe 2. Of course, David. Is everything okay? It will be, I lied. I just need to handle some things. Next call was to my brother, Ryan, who lived in Seattle. He was a financial advisor and would know what to do about protecting assets. Dave, what's up? I need your help. Emily's been cheating on me. I have proof. I need to know how to protect myself financially before I do anything. Silence on the other end. Then, Jesus, David, I'm so sorry. Okay, first thing, do not move out of the house. Do not tell her you know. Can you do that? I don't know if I can look at her. You have to. For Jake and Melissa, you need time to prepare. Where are you right now? Outside the house. Go to a coffee shop. Don't go inside yet. Give me an hour to make some calls. I know a lawyer in Portland, one of the best family law attorneys in Oregon. Her name is Victoria Walsh. Let me see if she can see you today. Emergency consultation. I started the car and backed out of the driveway. As I drove past the living room window, I saw Emily inside, folding laundry on the couch. She looked up and waved, smiling. I waved back. That smile. The same smile I'd fallen in love with 13 years ago at a friend's barbecue. The same smile I'd seen on our wedding day. The same smile that had beamed at me in the hospital when Jake was born. Then Melissa. All of it was a lie. I sat in the parking lot of a Starbucks on Murray Boulevard, my laptop open on the passenger seat, searching for something I should have looked for months ago. Emily's business. She'd started it 3 years ago, Bright Future Solar Solutions. I'd been proud of her. After 7 years as a stay-at-home mom, she wanted something of her own. She'd taken online courses, gotten certified, partnered with a solar installation company. I'd helped her set up the LLC, signed the paperwork as a co-owner for tax purposes, supported her completely. Now I typed the business name into Google with hands that wanted to shake. The website looked professional. Testimonials from happy customers, photos of installations. Emily's headshot in the About Us section, smiling in a hard hat. Helping Oregon families transition to clean, affordable energy. I clicked through to the Better Business Bureau listing. My coffee went cold in my hand. 17 complaints in the last 8 months. All recent. All saying basically the same thing. Panels don't work as promised. Energy bills barely decreased. Company won't return calls. Paid $35,000 for premium solar installation. Electric bill only dropped 40 month. Math doesn't add up. Efficiency ratings don't match what we were promised. Feels like a scam. I opened a new tab and searched Bright Future Solar Solutions complaints. A Reddit thread from 2 weeks ago. Anyone else get screwed by Bright Future Solar? 43 comments. I scrolled through them, my stomach tightening with each new post. They showed us certificates saying panels were 22% efficient. Had an independent inspector check after our bills stayed high. Panels tested at 11% efficiency. When we confronted them, they ghosted us. Same here. Paid for top-tier equipment, got bottom-tier garbage. They pocketed the difference. I'm an electrician. Looked at my neighbor's Bright Future installation. Those panels are Chinese knockoffs worth maybe $2,000. They charged him $28,000. The efficiency certificates are fake. I compared mine to a friend's from a different company. Different format, different testing lab. Called the lab on my certificate. Doesn't exist. I sat back, my mind racing. This wasn't just an affair. Emily had been running a fraud operation. I pulled up our joint bank account, the one for household expenses. Then I accessed the business account I'd co-signed on 3 years ago but never monitored. Emily handled all of it. I'd trusted her. The business account showed deposits of $340,000 in the last year alone. Expenses were minimal. Equipment purchases from some supplier called Pacific Green Technologies, only $85,000 total. Installation labor, another $40,000 paid to various contractors. Where did the other $215,000 go? I checked the transaction history. Regular transfers to an account I didn't recognize. An account at a different bank. I called Ryan again. That was fast, he said. Victoria can't meet until… This isn't about the affair, I said. Emily's business. I think she's committing fraud. Silence. What kind of fraud? I explained what I'd found. The complaints, the efficiency certificates, the money. Jesus, Ryan said. David, this is federal. If she's falsifying documents to get government rebates… What rebates? Solar installations qualify for federal tax credits, 30% of the cost. Oregon has state rebates too. If she's inflating the equipment costs and quality, claiming rebates for premium systems while installing cheap garbage, she's stealing from the government and from her customers. And if you're a co-owner of the LLC, Ryan's voice went tight. David, you could be liable. My hands went numb. I didn't know. I just signed the initial paperwork. I haven't been involved in… I believe you. But legally, you're an owner. You need a lawyer. Not just for the divorce. For this. Victoria? She does family law. You need someone who handles fraud defense. White-collar crime. I closed my eyes. How did this happen? We'll figure it out. But David, you need to document everything. Download all those complaints, those Reddit posts, the bank records, everything, before she knows you know. Okay. And the affair video. Keep that separate. Don't let the fraud investigation contaminate the divorce case. These are two different things. Got it. I'm calling a guy I know, criminal defense attorney in Portland. His name is Kevin Walsh. No relation to Victoria, different firm. He's expensive, but he's good. I don't care what it costs. I'll text you his number. Call him today. Tell him I referred you. After we hung up, I spent the next hour screenshotting everything. The BBB complaints, the Reddit thread, the bank records, the business account transfers. I saved it all to a new folder in my cloud storage, labeled Business Records 2024. My phone buzzed. Emily. Jake's game is at 6. Can you make it? I stared at the message. Our son's soccer game. I'd completely forgotten. I'll be there, I typed back. Great. He's so excited. Love you. I put the phone down and opened a new search tab. Pacific Green Technologies. The supplier Emily had been buying equipment from. No website, no business listing, no address. I searched the Oregon Business Registry. No Pacific Green Technologies registered in the state. The company didn't exist. $85,000 paid to a fake company. I pulled up the business account again and looked at the payment details. The checks had been deposited at a Bank of America branch in Lake Oswego. I zoomed in on the check images. The signature on the back, Trevor Mitchell. I typed the name into Facebook. Third result, Trevor Mitchell lives in Lake Oswego, works at Pacific Green Technologies. His profile picture showed a man in his 30s, athletic build, standing next to a black Dodge Ram. I clicked through to his photos. My vision tunneled. There was Emily, in a photo from 4 months ago. She and Trevor at some restaurant, his arm around her shoulders. The caption, Best business partner ever. I scrolled further back. More photos. Emily and Trevor at a conference in Sacramento. Emily and Trevor touring a warehouse. Emily and Trevor holding champagne glasses at what looked like New Year's. The photos went back 18 months. I opened the business account records again and searched for the first payment to Pacific Green Technologies. 18 months ago. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Kevin Walsh. Your brother gave me your info. Can you come to my office at 4 p.m. today? I have a cancellation. I checked the time. 2:45 p.m. I'll be there, I replied. What's the address? He sent it. Downtown Portland. 40 minutes away if traffic was decent. I closed the laptop and started the car. Jake's soccer game would have to wait. I called Emily as I pulled onto the highway. Hey, she sounded cheerful, normal. Are you on your way home? Something came up at work, I said. My voice sounded steady, calm, like I was still the person I'd been 2 days ago. Emergency meeting with a contractor. I'm going to miss Jake's game. Oh no, he'll be so disappointed. I know. Tell him I'm sorry. I'll make it up to him this weekend. Okay, I'll video some of it for you. Thanks. Love you. Drive safe. You too. I hung up and merged into traffic, my mind already 3 steps ahead. Kevin Walsh would tell me how much trouble I was in, how to protect myself, how to prove I didn't know about the fraud. But I was also thinking about something else. If Emily had been running this scam with Trevor for 18 months, there had to be evidence. Real evidence. Not just bank records and Reddit complaints. There had to be a warehouse somewhere. A place where they stored the cheap panels before installation. A place where they forged the efficiency certificates. And if I could find it before Emily knew I was looking, I could document everything. Not just for my own protection, for every homeowner she'd scammed. Every family who'd trusted her to deliver clean energy and got worthless junk instead. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Emily. Forgot to mention, I have a late install tomorrow. Won't be home until 8 or 9. Can you handle dinner and bedtime? No problem, I typed back. Tomorrow night. Emily would be out of the house for hours, which meant I had time to do some searching of my own. The law offices of Walsh and Associates occupied the 3rd floor of a glass-fronted building in downtown Portland. I sat across from Kevin Walsh in a conference room that smelled like leather and expensive coffee, my laptop open between us showing the spreadsheet I'd compiled. Kevin was younger than I expected, maybe 35, with the kind of sharp focus that made me understand why Ryan had recommended him. He'd been scrolling through my evidence for 20 minutes without saying a word. This is federal, he said finally. You understand that, right? I nodded. My hands were shaking. I'd stopped at a gas station bathroom on the drive over and thrown up twice. Wire fraud, mail fraud, potentially tax fraud if she's claiming false credits on federal returns. Kevin leaned back in his chair. The fake supplier company, the interstate transfers, that brings in the FBI. We're not talking about state charges here. I didn't know anything about this. My voice came out steadier than I felt. I signed the LLC paperwork because our accountant said it made sense for taxes. I've never been involved in the business operations. Can you prove that? I work 50 hours a week at Cascade Construction. My boss can verify I've never taken time off for Emily's business. I don't have access to the company bank accounts. I've never met with customers or suppliers. I pulled up my work calendar on my phone. Every install day she's listed on social media, I was at job sites. I can document all of it. Kevin made notes on a legal pad. That helps. But you're still an owner on paper. The government will look at you as potentially complicit until proven otherwise. The words hit like a physical blow. So what do I do? First, you don't confront her. Not yet. He held up a hand when I started to object. I know you want answers, but if she knows you're onto the fraud, she could destroy evidence, move money offshore, disappear. She wouldn't. I stopped. 3 days ago, I would have said she wouldn't cheat, wouldn't lie, wouldn't defraud customers. Okay. Second, we need to document everything you can find. You said she's going out tomorrow night? She told me she has a late install, 7 to 10 p.m. Use that time. Search the house thoroughly. Look for contracts, invoices, anything related to the business. Check her home office, her car if you can access it. Take photos of everything, but don't remove anything. We don't want her knowing you've been looking. I thought about Emily's office, the room she always kept locked when she wasn't home. I don't have a key to her office. Kevin's expression didn't change. That's your house, your property. If you need to access a room for legitimate purposes, say a plumbing issue or checking a smoke detector, that's not breaking and entering. The implication was clear. I nodded. Third, and this is crucial, we need to find where they're operating from. The warehouse or facility where they're storing the cheap panels. That's where the real evidence will be. Forged certificates, inventory that doesn't match what customers paid for, records of the actual scheme. How do I find that? Does she have a GPS tracker on her phone? Family location sharing? No. She said it made her feel like I didn't trust her. The irony burned. But her car has OnStar. I'm the primary account holder. Kevin's pen moved across his notepad. OnStar keeps location history. You can access it through your account. See where she's been going. I pulled out my phone and logged into the OnStar app while Kevin watched. The account loaded slowly, my hands sweating on the screen. The location history showed a map dotted with pins. Our house, the kids' schools, Target, the gym, that expensive place she'd joined 8 months ago. And then, repeatedly over the past 6 months, an industrial area in Hillsborough near the airport. There. I turned the phone toward Kevin. She's been going to this address 3-4 times a week, always during the day when I'm at work. Kevin zoomed in on the location. That's a commercial warehouse district. Let me check something. He turned to his own laptop, typing rapidly. Property records show that address is leased by Pacific Green Technologies, the fake supplier company, the one that didn't legally exist. They're running the operation from there, I said. That's where they're storing everything. Probably. But we can't just break in and search it. That's actually breaking and entering, and it would make any evidence inadmissible. Kevin studied the map. What we need is for law enforcement to search it, which means we need to give them enough evidence to get a warrant. How much evidence do they need? More than you have right now. The BBB complaints are civil matters. The financial records show suspicious activity, but not definitive proof of fraud. We need documentation showing what customers paid for versus what they actually received. We need the forged efficiency certificates. We need proof that she's claiming federal rebates for equipment that doesn't qualify. My stomach twisted. So I need to find that tomorrow night. In the house. If it exists, yes. Customer contracts showing she sold premium panels. Invoices from the real suppliers showing she bought cheap ones. Any communication between her and Trevor discussing the scheme. Kevin closed his laptop. And David? If you find evidence that she's actively defrauding people right now, current customers who haven't received their installations yet, we may need to move faster. What do you mean? I mean, we might need to go to the authorities before you're ready, before you've protected yourself completely. Because if someone's about to lose $30,000 to a scam you have evidence of, there's an ethical obligation to prevent that. I hadn't thought about that. Somewhere out there, people were signing contracts with bright future solar solutions right now, handing over their savings for equipment they'd never receive, trusting Emily the way I'd trusted her. I'll find what I can tomorrow, I said. Then what? Then we make a decision. Either we go to the FBI with what we have, or we wait and gather more. But David, Kevin's expression was serious. Once we start this process, there's no going back. You'll be cooperating in a federal investigation against your wife, your kid's mother. That's going to have consequences beyond the legal ones. Jake and Melissa. God, what was this going to do to them? She made these choices, I said quietly. Not me. Kevin nodded and stood, extending his hand. Call me tomorrow night after you search the house. Doesn't matter how late. We'll figure out next steps. I shook his hand and left, riding the elevator down in a daze. The parking garage was cold and smelled like exhaust. I sat in my car for 10 minutes before starting the engine, trying to process everything. Tomorrow night I would search my own house like a burglar. Look through my wife's private papers. Violate what was left of our marriage for evidence of her crimes. Except it wasn't really a violation, was it? She'd already destroyed the marriage. I was just documenting the wreckage. My phone buzzed with a text from Emily. Running late, can you grab the kids from school? Jake has soccer at 5. I stared at the message, the casual domesticity of it. The assumption that I'd be there, reliable as always, picking up the pieces of our family routine while she did God knows what with Trevor. Got it, I typed back. The drive to the kids' school took 20 minutes. I was early, so I parked in the pickup line and watched other parents arriving. Normal families, normal problems. A mom arguing with her daughter about homework. A dad on a work call, looking stressed but present. Had Emily and I ever been that normal? Or had I just been too blind to see the cracks? Jake came running out at 3:15, his backpack bouncing. Melissa followed more slowly, talking to a friend. They piled into the back seat, and Jake immediately started telling me about a science project on renewable energy. Mom said she could bring solar panels to show the class, he said excitedly. Real ones from her company. Mr. Peterson said that would be really cool. The irony was suffocating. That's great, buddy. Can she do it next week? We're supposed to present on Friday. I met his eyes in the rearview mirror. 9 years old. Proud of his mom's business, completely unaware that it was all a fraud. We'll have to see, I said. Mom's pretty busy right now. Tomorrow night. I just had to make it through tomorrow night. Then I'd know how deep this went. Then I'd know what I had to do. The house was empty when I got home Wednesday evening. Emily had texted me at 4:30 p.m. Taking kids to Melissa's friend's birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese. Pizza after. Home around 8:30. Love you. Love you. I sat in my car in the driveway for 3 full minutes, staring at those 2 words on my phone screen. The same words she'd texted Trevor at 11:47 p.m. last Thursday. The same words she'd typed to me at 7:15 a.m. this morning, while probably lying in bed next to me, already planning whatever she had scheduled for today. The garage door opener felt heavy in my hand. I'd told Kevin Walsh I'd search tonight. Emily would be at her book club Thursday evening. Her regular weekly thing that I now suspected had never involved a single actual book. But Wednesday worked better. The kids would be occupied for hours. Emily wouldn't come home early from a birthday party. That would make her look like a bad mother. And Emily cared deeply about appearances. The garage was exactly as I'd left it this morning. Emily's white Lexus SUV was gone. My spot was empty. The kids' bikes hung on wall hooks. A plastic storage bin labeled Halloween decorations sat on a shelf, even though Halloween was still 3 weeks away, and Emily always waited until October 15th to decorate. Consistent, predictable, reliable Emily. I walked through the mudroom into the kitchen. The breakfast dishes were washed and put away. Melissa's math homework sat on the counter with a gold star sticker and "Great job" written in Emily's handwriting. A grocery list was magnetized to the refrigerator. Milk, bread, Jake's favorite cereal, chicken breasts, broccoli. Normal. Everything was so goddamn normal. I stood in the center of the kitchen and listened to the house settle around me. The refrigerator hummed. The heating system clicked on. Somewhere upstairs, a floorboard creaked, the way it always did when the temperature changed. Emily's home office was on the first floor, just off the living room. We'd converted the formal dining room 2 years ago when her solar business started taking off. She'd been so excited about it, her own company, her own space, making a real difference in renewable energy. I'd helped her pick out the desk from a furniture store in Portland. We'd spent a Saturday afternoon assembling it together while the kids watched movies upstairs. The door was closed but not locked. I turned the handle and stepped inside. Her desk faced the window overlooking our backyard. 2 filing cabinets stood against the left wall. A bookshelf held binders labeled by year: 2022 installations, 2023 installations, 2024 installations. A corkboard above her desk displayed a calendar, some motivational quotes about sustainability, and a photo of our family from last Christmas. We looked happy in that photo. Jake and Melissa in matching red sweaters. Emily and I standing behind them, my hand on her shoulder. All of us smiling at Tyler's camera because he'd come over for Christmas morning before driving to his ex-wife's house to see his own kids. I turned away from the photo and sat down at Emily's desk. Her computer was password protected, but I knew her passwords. She'd always used variations of the same thing, the kids' names plus birth years. I tried Jake 2015, Melissa 2017, and the screen unlocked. Her email was already open. Outlook synced to her phone. I scrolled through the inbox looking for anything from Trevor Mitchell or Pacific Green Technologies. Nothing. I checked her sent folder. Her trash. Her spam. Still nothing. That meant she'd been careful. Deleting correspondence, probably using a separate email account for the business fraud. Kevin had warned me about this. People running scams usually compartmentalize their digital footprints. I opened her file explorer and started browsing documents. The folders were organized exactly how I'd expect Emily to organize them. Alphabetically, clearly labeled, color-coded. Client Contracts 2024 was blue. Financial Records was green. Marketing Materials was orange. Permits and Certificates was red. I clicked on Client Contracts 2024. 37 PDF files, each named with a customer's last name and installation date. I opened the first one, Anderson's ZO315 2024 PDF. It was a standard installation contract. The customer, Robert and Patricia Anderson of Tigard, had agreed to pay $32,500 for a premium residential solar array featuring SunPower X-Series panels with 22.8% efficiency rating and Tesla Powerwall backup battery system. The contract included detailed specifications, warranty information, and projected energy savings over 20 years. Everything looked legitimate. Professional letterhead, legal language, Emily's signature at the bottom alongside Trevor Mitchell's signature as installation manager. I opened another contract. Same format, different customer. $28,900 for similar equipment. Then another. $35,200. I opened 15 contracts in total. All of them promised premium equipment. All of them cited specific efficiency ratings and manufacturer warranties. All of them were signed by Emily and Trevor. But according to the BBB complaints David had found, these customers had received cheap Chinese knockoff panels that barely produced half the promised energy output. I navigated to the Permits and Certificates folder. Inside were dozens of PDF files labeled with customer names and dates. I opened Anderson Efficiency Certificate PDF. It was an official-looking document on Oregon Department of Energy letterhead, certifying that the Anderson installation had been inspected and verified to meet all state efficiency standards for renewable energy tax credit eligibility. It was signed by someone named James Whitley, Senior Energy Inspector, and dated March 22, 2024, 1 week after the installation. I stared at the document for a long moment, then opened my phone and Googled James Whitley, Oregon Department of Energy. No results. I tried Oregon Department of Energy inspectors. The state website listed 12 certified inspectors. None named James Whitley. My stomach went cold. I opened another certificate. Different customer, different inspector name. Patricia Coleman, Energy Compliance Officer. Googled her. Nothing. Another certificate. Michael Stevens, Renewable Energy Specialist. Also non-existent. Emily and Trevor had been forging state inspection certificates. That wasn't just fraud. That was impersonating government officials. That was using fake documents to help customers claim federal tax credits they weren't entitled to. I sat back in the chair, my hands shaking slightly. Kevin had said this could be federal wire fraud, mail fraud, tax fraud. Now I was looking at identity fraud and forgery of government documents. The scope kept expanding. Every folder I opened revealed another layer. I pulled out my phone and started taking photos. Every contract. Every forged certificate. I photographed the file directory showing how organized it all was, how systematic. Then I opened the financial records folder. QuickBooks files, Excel spreadsheets, PDF bank statements. I opened the most recent spreadsheet, Q3 2024 revenue.xlsx. The numbers were staggering. July revenue, $127,400 from 4 installations. August revenue, $156,800 from 5 installations. September revenue, $98,500 from 3 installations. But the expenses told a different story. Equipment costs for all 12 installations, $31,200 total. That was less than the cost of a single premium installation these customers had paid for. I did the math in my head. Emily and Trevor had collected $382,700 in Q3 alone. They'd spent $31,200 on cheap equipment. Even accounting for labor, permits, marketing, and overhead, they'd probably cleared at least $250,000 in profit from 3 months of fraud. And this was just Q3. The business had been running for 18 months. I opened another spreadsheet. Total revenue 2023-2024.xlsx. 2 tabs. One labeled Reported Income. One labeled Actual Income. Reported income for 2023, $287,000. Actual income for 2023, $891,000. The difference, $604,000. They'd been underreporting their income by more than half. Tax fraud on top of everything else. I photographed every page of the spreadsheet, my phone's camera clicking in the silent office. Then I saw another folder I'd missed. PGT Records. Pacific Green Technologies. Trevor's fake supplier company. I opened it. Inside were invoices, Dozens of them, all from Pacific Green Technologies to Bright Future Solar Solutions. Each invoice listed premium equipment at wholesale prices: sun power panels, Tesla batteries, premium inverters. The invoices matched the equipment promised in customer contracts. But these invoices were fake. Trevor was billing Emily's company for equipment that was never actually purchased, creating a paper trail that made the fraud look legitimate on the surface. Emily would show these invoices to customers, to banks, to anyone who asked questions. Meanwhile, the actual cheap panels came from somewhere else entirely, probably direct from China with no documentation. I was photographing the third invoice when I heard a car door slam outside. My heart stopped. I looked at my phone. 7:18 p.m. Emily wasn't supposed to be home for another hour. The garage door rumbled beneath me. I was still standing in Emily's office, phone in my hand, the last photograph of her forged inspection certificate still glowing on the screen. The sound traveled through the house's frame like an earthquake warning. That distinctive mechanical groan of the opener, followed by the ascending rattle of the door panels. She was home. An hour and 12 minutes early. My heart kicked against my ribs. The office door was locked from the inside, deadbolt engaged, exactly as I'd found it. Emily's desk looked untouched. I'd been careful, photographing documents in place, returning each folder to its exact position. But I was trapped in a room I had no legitimate reason to be in, with a phone full of evidence that would destroy any chance of controlling this situation on my terms. I heard her car door slam in the garage below. Move. Think later. I pulled the deadbolt as quietly as possible and eased the office door open. The hallway stretched before me, empty and ordinary. Our bedroom was to the left, the stairs to the right. I could hear Emily's footsteps in the garage, the jingle of her keys. I stepped into the hallway and pulled the door shut behind me, then twisted the exterior lock with the bump key. The pins caught on the second try. 3 seconds. The deadbolt I couldn't engage from outside, but Emily would assume she'd simply forgotten to set it. The garage door into the kitchen opened as I reached the top of the stairs. David? Her voice carried up from below, surprised but not alarmed. Your car's here. I didn't think you'd be home yet. I descended the stairs at a normal pace, willing my breathing to steady. Conference call ran short. Got back about 20 minutes ago. Emily appeared at the bottom of the stairs, still in her gym clothes. Black leggings, a fitted tank top, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked exactly like my wife, exactly like the woman I'd kissed goodbye that morning. Everything okay? I asked. You're back early. Trainer canceled, some family emergency. She set her gym bag on the bench by the door. I texted you. I pulled out my phone, making a show of checking. Sure enough, a message had come through 12 minutes ago while I was photographing her files. Trevor had to cancel, heading home. Need anything from the store? Trevor, not my trainer, not the gym. Just Trevor, like he was a friend, a colleague, someone whose schedule affected her day. Just saw it, I said. No, we're good on groceries. She smiled, that familiar smile I'd seen 1,000 times across dinner tables and in morning kitchens. I'm going to shower. Want to order Thai for dinner? I don't feel like cooking. Sure, the usual place? Perfect. She headed toward the stairs, then paused. How was your day? The question hung in the air between us. How was my day? I'd spent it photographing evidence of her systematic fraud operation. I'd documented how she was stealing federal tax credits while installing equipment that would fail within months. I'd learned that my name was attached to an LLC that had underreported over $600,000 in income. Productive, I said. Got a lot done. She nodded and continued up the stairs. I listened to her footsteps cross the landing, heard our bedroom door close. A moment later, the shower started running. I stood in the hallway, phone heavy in my pocket, and allowed myself 3 deep breaths. That was close. Too close. I went to the kitchen and opened my laptop at the table, pulling up the Thai restaurant's website. Ordered her favorite, pad see ew with chicken, medium spice, and my usual drunken noodles. Clicked through the checkout process like this was a normal Wednesday evening, like I hadn't just narrowly avoided disaster. While the shower ran upstairs, I opened an encrypted email and sent the photos from my phone to the secure cloud account Tyler had set up. 43 images uploaded in 90 seconds. Contracts with inflated equipment costs. Inspection certificates signed by non-existent government officials. Financial spreadsheets showing the true scope of the fraud. Then I deleted the photos from my phone and cleared the recently deleted folder. The shower shut off. I heard Emily moving around upstairs, the familiar sounds of her evening routine. Closet doors opening, drawers sliding. The hairdryer's distant hum. My phone buzzed with a text from Kevin Walsh, the attorney. Need to meet tomorrow. New developments. Can you do 10 a.m.? I replied, I'll be there. Another text, this one from Ryan. Call me when you can. Important. I stepped out onto the back deck, closing the sliding door behind me. The October evening was cool, the sky fading from blue to purple. Our yard looked peaceful, the swing set where Jake and Melissa played, the garden beds Emily had planted last spring, the fence line we'd repaired together 2 summers ago. I dialed Ryan's number. He answered on the first ring. I found something. What? Pacific Green Technologies, that supplier company you mentioned. I did some digging through business registries. Papers rustled in the background. It's registered to a commercial address in Hillsborough, same address as a warehouse facility. The warehouse. Emily's calendar had shown multiple visits there, appointments marked simply as PGT inventory. I drove by on my lunch break, Ryan continued. It's a commercial storage complex, units you can rent by the month. The kind of place where people store excess inventory or run small distribution operations. You went there? Just drove past. Didn't stop, didn't get out of the car. But David, the unit number matches the business registration, 2847. I could see it from the street. I gripped the deck railing. What are you thinking? I'm thinking that's where they're storing the real equipment, the cheap panels they're actually installing. Maybe the premium equipment they're claiming to buy but never use. He paused. I'm thinking that warehouse contains physical evidence of the fraud. I can't break into a warehouse, Ryan. I'm not suggesting you break in. I'm suggesting you find out what's there legally. Maybe Emily has keys at home. Maybe there are documents that reference it. Maybe she keeps the office locked. I just searched it while she was supposed to be at the gym, and she came home early. I barely got out without being caught. Silence on the line. Then, this is getting dangerous. I know. Kevin needs to know about the warehouse. It might be something law enforcement can use, something they can get a warrant for if you provide enough preliminary evidence. Ryan's voice dropped. But you need to be careful. If Emily suspects you know anything, she doesn't. I'm being normal. Ordering Thai food, asking about her day, sleeping in the same bed. The words tasted bitter. Playing the oblivious husband. How much longer can you do that? I watched a neighbor's cat cross through our yard, moving between pools of shadow. Kevin wants to meet tomorrow at 10. Maybe he'll have answers. David. Ryan's tone shifted, became more serious. I looked into the federal fraud statutes. If this goes to prosecution, if they decide to charge everyone connected to the business, you could be looking at 20 years. Even if you convince them you didn't know, even if you cooperate fully, your name is on those LLC documents. You signed tax returns. 20 years. Jake would be 29. Melissa would be 27. I'd miss everything. I didn't know, I said quietly. I believe you. But belief isn't evidence. You need to prove it. You need documentation showing you had no involvement in the business operations, no knowledge of the fraud, no access to the accounts where the money was hidden. I'm working on it. Work faster. Ryan exhaled slowly. And David? Consider the possibility that you might need to move first. Before Emily realizes what you know. Before she has time to destroy evidence or create a narrative where you're complicit. The sliding door opened behind me. Emily stood in the doorway, wearing yoga pants and one of my old college sweatshirts, her hair damp from the shower. Food should be here in 20 minutes, she said. Who are you talking to? I lowered the phone slightly. Ryan, just checking in. She nodded, accepting this without question. Tell him I said hi. I'm going to set the table. She disappeared back inside. I raised the phone to my ear. I have to go, I told Ryan. Be careful. Always am. I ended the call and stood on the deck for another moment, watching the sky darken. Tomorrow, I'd meet with Kevin Walsh and find out what new developments had emerged. Tomorrow, I'd make decisions about timing, about when to act, about how to protect myself and the kids. But tonight, I had to sit across the table from my wife and pretend everything was fine. I had to eat Thai food and discuss Jake's upcoming science project and Melissa's Halloween costume. I had to sleep in a bed next to someone who'd been systematically defrauding federal programs while building a life with her lover. I could do this. I'd been doing it for days now. The doorbell rang, the food, arriving exactly on time. I went inside to have dinner with my wife. The warehouse district in Hillsborough looked exactly like what it was, a place where businesses stored things they didn't want people to see. Chain link fences, security lights on motion sensors, buildings that were just numbered boxes in a grid. I'd driven past Unit 2847 twice already, just to get a feel for the layout. Ryan had texted me the address at 9:47 p.m. last night, and I'd barely slept. Emily had noticed, asked if I was feeling okay. I'd told her I was worried about a project deadline. She'd rubbed my shoulder and suggested I take a melatonin. The performance never stopped. Now it was 6:15 a.m. on a Saturday. Emily thought I'd gone to the office to catch up on work. The kids were still asleep when I left. Jake had a soccer game at 10. Melissa had a playdate at 2. Normal weekend stuff. Emily's calendar showed Costco run at 11. I wondered if that meant the warehouse or an actual Costco. The storage complex was one of those places where you paid month to month for a garage-sized unit. No staff on weekends. Just a keypad at the gate and cameras that probably didn't work. I'd brought bolt cutters in case I needed them, but I was hoping Trevor and Emily had gotten sloppy. Unit 2847 was in the back corner. I parked 3 rows away and walked, wearing a blazer's cap pulled low. The morning air was cold enough to see my breath. A dog barked somewhere in the distance. The unit had a standard rolling door, the kind you pulled up manually. A master locks. The size of my fist hung from the latch. I took a photo of the lock, the unit number, the surrounding area. Kevin Walsh had been clear about documentation. Everything needed to be recorded, time-stamped, preserved. I tried the lock just to see. Locked solid. Then I noticed the regular door on the side of the unit. Smaller, like a house door. Also locked, but with a cheaper knob lock instead of a padlock. I tried the handle. Locked. But when I pushed against the door, I felt give. The frame was old, slightly warped. I looked around. No one. Just rows of identical units and the distant hum of traffic on the main road. The bolt cutters wouldn't work on a door lock, but I had a pry bar in my trunk. I'd thrown it in last night along with a flashlight, work gloves, and a portable scanner Ryan had loaned me, the kind that could photograph documents and upload them directly to cloud storage. It took me 4 minutes to get the pry bar and work the door open. The wood around the lock splintered with a crack that sounded like a gunshot in the quiet morning. I froze, waiting for someone to come investigate. Nothing. I pulled the door open and stepped inside. The smell hit me first. Cardboard, dust, and something chemical. Plastic, maybe? I clicked on my flashlight and swept it across the space. The unit was packed. Pallets of solar panels still in their factory wrapping lined the left wall. I moved closer, checking the labels. SunPower Maxion 3 read 1 box. Premium panels. The kind Emily's contracts promised. I counted 12 boxes, each containing 2 panels according to the label. 24 premium panels. At wholesale, maybe $15,000 worth of equipment. But that's not what caught my attention. The right side of the warehouse held different pallets. These boxes had Chinese characters on them and a brand I didn't recognize. Tianeng Solar. The boxes looked cheaper, thinner cardboard. I opened one with my pocket knife. Inside were solar panels that looked similar to the premium ones at first glance. Same size, same basic black rectangle design. But the weight was different when I lifted one. Lighter. And the efficiency rating printed on the back said 14.2%. The premium panels Emily promised customers were rated at 22.5%. I photographed everything. The premium panels. The cheap Chinese panels. The labels. The serial numbers. I counted 48 boxes of the Tianeng panels. 96 panels total. At the back of the unit, I found a desk setup. Folding table, printer, laptop docking station, filing cabinet. The laptop was gone, but the printer was still there. I opened the filing cabinet. Jackpot. The top drawer held blank Oregon Department of Energy letterhead. Not photocopies, actual letterhead with the state seal embossed at the top. I had no idea how they'd gotten it, but there it was. A stack of maybe 200 sheets. The second drawer had rubber stamps. Official-looking stamps with names. Robert Galloway, Senior Inspector. Patricia Nguyen, Certification Officer. James Thornton, Compliance Director. I photographed every stamp. Then I looked up each name on my phone. Robert Galloway had retired from the Oregon Department of Energy in 2019. Patricia Nguyen didn't exist in any state directory. James Thornton was a real person, but he worked for the Washington State Department of Commerce, not Oregon's Energy Department. They'd built an entire certification forgery operation. The third drawer held customer files. I recognized some of the names from the contracts I'd found in Emily's office. Each file contained the original signed contract, a copy of the forged inspection certificate, and notes in Emily's handwriting. One file for a couple named David and Jennifer Brooks caught my eye. They'd paid $32,000 for a premium system. Emily's notes said, TN panels installed 6/14/24, Certificate dated 6/18/24. RG signature. Rebate submitted 6/20/24. Customer called 9/3/24 low output. Told them system needs 90 days to optimize. Follow up in deck if still complaining. 3 months to optimize. That was the stall tactic. By December, they'd have another excuse ready. Or maybe they'd just stop answering calls. I started scanning documents with Ryan's portable scanner. The fake letterhead. Photos of the stamps. Customer files. It took 40 minutes to work through everything in the filing cabinet. The scanner uploaded each batch to a cloud account Ryan had set up specifically for this. Encrypted. Backed up. Untraceable to me. When I finished with the files, I found one more thing tucked behind the desk. A lockbox. Small, fireproof, with a combination lock. I tried a few obvious combinations. Emily's birthday, our anniversary, the kids' birthdays. Nothing worked. I took photos of the lockbox from every angle, then used the pry bar on it. The lock held, but the hinges gave way after some work. Inside was a ledger. Handwritten, detailed, damning. Every installation was listed with 3 columns. Contract amount. Actual cost. Net profit. The numbers matched what I'd found in Emily's office, but this ledger went back further. The first entry was dated March 2023. 18 months of fraud, line by line. Total contract revenue, $1,847,300. Total actual costs, $183,450. Net profit, $163,850. Nearly $1.7 million. I photographed every page of the ledger, my hands shaking. This wasn't just fraud. This was systematic theft on a massive scale. 37 families in 2024 alone. Before that, another 42 in 2023. 79 families who'd trusted Emily. Who'd wanted to do the right thing for the environment, save money on electricity, increase their home values. Instead, they got worthless panels and forged certificates while Emily and Trevor pocketed their money and their federal rebates. I was putting the ledger back in the lockbox when I heard it. A car engine, close. I killed my flashlight and moved to the side door, peering through the gap. A white pickup truck pulled up to the unit. Trevor's truck. I recognized it from his Facebook photos. It was 7:43 a.m. Trevor got out of the driver's side. Emily got out of the passenger side. They were both supposed to be somewhere else. Trevor should have been starting his FedEx route. Emily should have been home with the kids. We need to move the premium panels today, Emily was saying as they approached. That inspector from West Lynn is getting pushy. We'll actually have to install real equipment this time. That's 15 grand down the drain, Trevor said. Can't we just stall him? He's friends with someone at the actual energy department. Too risky. They were 20 feet from the door. I looked around frantically. The unit was packed with equipment. No back exit, no windows, just the rolling door in front and the side door I'd broken open. I squeezed behind the pallets of Chinese panels, making myself as small as possible in the narrow gap between the boxes and the wall. My phone was on silent. The scanner was in my jacket pocket. The pry bar was on the floor by the desk. They'd see it immediately. The rolling door started to open with a metallic screech. The pry bar lay on the concrete floor like an accusation. I watched through the gap between pallets as Emily stepped into the warehouse, Trevor behind her. She was mid-sentence, something about quarterly projections when she stopped. "Did you leave the side door open?" she asked. Trevor moved past her. I heard his footsteps, then silence. "It's been forced. The lock's broken." "What?" I had maybe 10 seconds before they searched the unit and found me. My phone was recording audio in my pocket. I'd started it the moment I heard their car. Everything they said now was evidence. But I was trapped behind stolen solar panels in a warehouse that proved my wife was a criminal, and there was no way out that didn't involve confrontation. I stepped out from behind the pallets. Emily saw me first. Her face went through a sequence I'd never forget. Confusion, recognition, shock, then something cold and calculating. David. She said my name like she was testing it. What are you doing here? I held up my phone, still recording. Documenting fraud. Wire fraud, mail fraud, tax fraud, forgery of government documents. Should I keep going? Trevor moved toward me, but Emily put a hand on his arm. Don't! He's got no right to be here, Trevor said. This is breaking and entering. This warehouse is leased by Pacific Green Technologies, which is registered to an LLC I co-own with Emily, I said. My voice was steadier than I felt. I have every legal right to access property owned by my company. You, on the other hand, have no legal standing here at all. Emily's expression shifted. She was doing calculations, running scenarios. I could almost see her mind working. How long have you known? Long enough. The affair, the fraud, the fake supplier company, the forged certificates. All of it. I gestured around the warehouse. I've photographed everything. The cheap panels you're actually installing. The premium equipment you're keeping to show the occasional suspicious customer. The filing cabinet full of fake letterhead and rubber stamps. The ledger showing $1.7 million in fraudulent profits. You had no right, Trevor started. Shut up, Trevor, Emily said quietly. She never took her eyes off me. What do you want? Want? You're here instead of at the FBI. That means you want something. Money? A clean divorce? What? For a moment, I almost laughed. After everything, the lies, the betrayal, the systematic theft from families who'd trusted her. She thought this was negotiable, that I'd come here to make a deal. I want you to turn yourself in, I said. Both of you. Today. I want you to contact every customer you've defrauded and make it right. I want you to repay the federal rebates you stole. And I want a divorce where you don't fight me for custody because I'm not letting my children be raised by someone who thinks this is acceptable. Emily laughed. Actually laughed. You think you have leverage here? David, you're an owner of Bright Future Solar. Your name is on the LLC documents. You signed tax returns. You're just as liable as I am. Except I have 18 months of work calendars showing I was never involved in business operations. I have emails and text messages proving I had no knowledge of the fraud. I have testimony from my employer confirming I worked 50-hour weeks and never took time for your company. And I have recordings of you and Trevor discussing the fraud in detail, which I'm making right now. Trevor lunged for my phone. I stepped back, but he was faster. His hand closed around my wrist, twisting hard. The phone clattered to the concrete. Trevor, stop! Emily shouted. But Trevor wasn't listening. His other hand grabbed my jacket, shoving me back against the pallets. You're not ruining this. We've worked too hard. I'd never been in a real fight. Playground scuffles in middle school, maybe. But Trevor was younger, stronger, and desperate. His fist caught me in the ribs, driving the air from my lungs. I went down hard, my head cracking against a pallet edge. The world went fuzzy for a moment. I heard Emily screaming, heard scuffling, heard my phone skittering across concrete. Then Trevor's weight was on me, his hands around my throat. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. My vision started to tunnel. Somewhere far away, Emily was yelling, "You're killing him! Trevor, stop!" The pressure on my throat released suddenly. I gasped, rolled onto my side, coughing. My vision cleared enough to see Emily pulling Trevor away, both of them shouting at each other. Are you thinking? Assault? Murder? That's not going to destroy everything we built. I found my phone on the floor 3 feet away, screen cracked but still recording. I grabbed it and stumbled toward the side door. Trevor tried to follow, but Emily blocked him. Let him go. It's over. It's not over until... It's over, Emily's voice cracked. He has everything. The evidence, the recordings, all of it. We're done. I made it to my car, locked the doors, and sat there shaking. My throat felt like it was on fire. My ribs screamed every time I breathed. But I was alive, and the recording was still running. I ended it and immediately uploaded the file to the cloud. Then I called 911. 911, what's your emergency? I've been assaulted. Hillsborough Industrial Park, Unit 2847. I also need to report a federal fraud operation. The suspects are still on scene. The next 6 hours were a blur. Paramedics checked me over. Bruised ribs, minor concussion, contusions on my throat. Police took my statement. FBI agents arrived and listened to my recordings, looked at my photographs, searched the warehouse. They arrested Emily and Trevor at 11:23 a.m. I watched from the back of an ambulance as they were put in separate patrol cars. Emily looked at me once through the window. Not angry, not pleading, just empty. I called Ryan from the hospital. He contacted Kevin Walsh. They both met me at the police station that afternoon, where I gave a formal statement and turned over all my evidence. The FBI agent in charge, a woman named Special Agent Kimberly Torres, told me I'd done exactly the right thing. You're going to be okay, she said. Based on what you've provided, there's no indication you had any knowledge of or participation in the fraud. You're a witness, not a suspect. What happens to the customers? I asked. We'll work with the U.S. Attorney's Office on restitution. The premium equipment in that warehouse will be distributed to victims. Any recoverable assets will go toward making them whole. She paused. It won't be everything, but it's something. The divorce took 8 months. Emily pleaded guilty to 15 federal charges and was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Trevor got 14. The court ordered them to pay $1.8 million in restitution, though most of the money had been spent or hidden in accounts we never found. I got full custody of Jake and Melissa. Emily's parents hired an attorney to fight for visitation rights, but the judge sided with me. The kids could write to her if they wanted. Visit when they were older, if they chose. But for now, they needed stability. Telling Jake and Melissa was the hardest thing I've ever done. We sat in our living room on a Saturday morning, and I explained that their mother had made very bad choices, that she'd hurt people and had to go away for a long time, that it wasn't their fault, and I loved them, and we'd get through this together. Jake cried. Melissa was too young to fully understand, but she cried because her brother was crying. We held each other on that couch for an hour, and I promised them I'd never lie, never leave, never let them down. I've kept that promise. 3 years later, we're okay. Not perfect, but okay. Jake's 12 now, playing club soccer and talking about trying out for the middle school team. Melissa's 10, obsessed with art and marine biology. They see a therapist every other week. So do I. We moved to a smaller house in Teagard. Sold the Colonial in Beaverton. Too many memories. Started over. Some of Emily's victims reached out to me. A few were angry, thinking I must have known. Most were just sad. One couple, the Brooks family from that customer file I'd found, actually thanked me. They said what I did took courage, That turning in my own wife couldn't have been easy. It wasn't. It still isn't. But here's what I learned. Trust is built on truth, and truth requires verification. Not because you assume the worst in people, but because you owe it to yourself to live in reality. I'd spent 12 years trusting blindly, assuming that love meant never questioning, never looking deeper. I was wrong. Love without honesty is just comfortable delusion. And when that delusion cracks, the fall is devastating. I teach my kids now that integrity means doing the right thing even when it costs you everything. Especially when it costs you everything. Because the alternative, living with lies, enabling harm, protecting wrongdoing for the sake of convenience, that's not love. That's cowardice. Jake asked me once if I still loved his mom. We were driving home from soccer practice, and the question came out of nowhere. I thought about it. Really thought about it. I loved who I thought she was, I told him. But that person wasn't real. The real her made choices I can't love or respect. Does that make sense? He nodded slowly. Yeah, I think so. We drove in silence for a while. Then he said, Dad, thanks for telling us the truth. Even though it sucked. You deserve the truth, I said. You always will. That's the lesson, I think. The one I paid $1.7 million in 12 years of marriage to learn. The truth doesn't care about your comfort. It doesn't negotiate or compromise. It simply is. And you can either face it and build something real from the rubble, or you can hide from it and watch everything you thought you had dissolve into ash. I chose truth. It cost me my marriage, my savings, my kids' innocence, and nearly my life in that warehouse. But it gave me something more valuable. The ability to look my children in the eye and know I did the right thing. To sleep at night without wondering what else I didn't know. To build a new life on a foundation that won't crumble the first time someone tests it. Emily writes to the kids sometimes. The letters sit in a box in my closet, unopened. When they're older, when they're ready, they can decide if they want to read them. That's their choice to make. As for me, I'm done with comfortable lies. Done with blind trust. Done with loving the idea of someone instead of seeing who they really are. I'm teaching my kids to be brave enough to look, strong enough to act, and honest enough to live with the consequences. Because in the end, that's all we have. The truth we're willing to face and the courage to do something about it. Everything else is just evidence waiting to be found.